no notes. I want you to drive me as I basically go through assignment 1 and get myself a data course Jan repository. All right, so here I am on GitHub. Hands off your keyboards for reals. Help me do this. Yeah, close them down. All right, I want to create a new repository. It's got to be data course Jan in all caps. How do I do that? Go to new. Perfect. Repository name, data underscore course Jan. Okay, that's available. Anything else I need to do here? Yeah, I'm going to add that README file so I can go ahead and clone this thing to my computer. Perfect. All right, well, there's the web address to it. So I'm going to copy that, and now what am I going to do with that copied URL? Git clone. Terminal. All right. Just right here?
CD. And then you Google it. Oh, yeah. Get to your desktop. CD desktop.
No. Where am I?
Okay, do LS.
There is. Okay.
Now
CD capital desktop. Now what? Now I clone it. Okay. Git clone, paste that in. Great. Okay. Well, it's empty. It's got a stupid README, but what do I need to do now?
you need to make sure it can what is the word?
Push?
Push it. That's what it is.
Not yet. I need to get some stuff
So
into it.
well, you
want
put
to echo? Is that what you're talking
the
about?
data course stuff
Adding?
into
Do you
it.
go to the data course and download those?
Right, so fortunately I've actually already got that on my computer. So if I go desktop, mine live in Git repositories. There's data course, so that's the one that you cloned that's mine. I open that up. I'm gonna look at this and say, oh, there's some data, there's some assignments and some code examples and exercises. Copy. Go back to my desktop. There's data course Jan. Paste them in. Excellent. Okay, I can go back to my terminal now. CD data course Jan. There's my stuff. Excellent. Okay. Now what? Git add what? I need to tell it what to add. So git add my assignments. And for now I'm just going to add those because I don't want to have a long upload time. So if I say git status, it's saying, hey, I am not paying attention to these. Those are untracked. Okay? And in mine they turn up red, but it's untracked files, so Git doesn't know about these 3 folders. I want it that way for now. But it does say, hey, look at all these new things you got. That's actually a lot of stuff. Okay. So I've added them. So that's basically saying, hey, Git, pay attention. Now what? Git commit, give it a message, added assignments. Now what? Well, first I've got to set this up to use my password and everything. You've already done this part. But for me, I'm going to have to do something weird. that whole credential helper. I'm just going to copy that, and I'm going to say nano git config, paste it into my little config there. You won't have to do that part. Okay. Now git push. It seems to be working. So if I go back online, here's my empty repository, well, with my README file. Get out of there. It's taking its sweet time, but it's not giving me an error message. It's not asking for my password. This is good. Okay. Refresh. Assignments. There they are. Great. Okay, so I've got my stuff. I'm very happy about this. Well, assignment 1 was basically do that with 10 changes. So what can I do? Here's my README. I'm just gonna, oh, it's trying to open it in RStudio. Fine, okay. There's my README file. I'll make a change. Save the change. Okay. Now when I say git status, what's new?
Modified.
Modified. README.md has had a saved change in it. Perfect, so that's 1 of my 10, almost done. I say git add README, git commit, some message, git push, done. So if I go back here, my README is displaying, oh, I'll make a change. It shows up right there. Okay. So and there's my stupid message. I've got 3 commits here. I can look at the history of these. Each one has its little commit, initial, added assignments, and okay. And I can look at those, view commit details, and it'll actually show me what was different between the previous version and my new one. There it is. I added these lines, some empty lines, and I'll make a change. Okay. So if I did that 9 more times, I open this. Another change. Control S to save. All right, get out of there. I'm just going to hit the up key to cycle through my last commands because I'm lazy. There's git status. It's been modified again. Git add, done. Commit. Push. 2 out of 10 done. Okay. Why do I have you do this 10 times? Muscle memory. It really is so much that we do in here. It's just going to be like, oh, I've actually done this 10 times, so I can do it again. For exam 1, the #1 reason that people fail exam 1 and get a 0 out of 100 is because they can't figure out here's their code. They've got it. They've saved the file, but they're having trouble with git. Or they're seeing a new error message that they haven't dealt with before. And when they email me frantically the day before it's due, what do I respond? You should have practiced this more. You'll have another chance at the end of the semester to redo this exam, but you're probably going to get a 0. Don't cry too much. Have a nice weekend. And then they don't have a nice weekend because they're all upset. You don't want this to be you. So 20 times is better than 10, right? Because sometimes you're going to get a weird error message. You're going to have to Google it and say, what's going on here? Okay. If it's like before the exam and you're getting a new error message, sure, I will help. You can show up here early to class. We can meet in my office. I'll help you through Teams. We'll get it done. But I want you to have that muscle memory practice. Okay. Okay. Well, there I am. So now we can all get back on our computers, and I want you to open RStudio. Can you see this back there? Is that right? All right, give me a hand raise when you've got it open. Excellent. You guys are awesome. All right, let's get to know RStudio here, because basically, unless you're adding, committing, pushing, everything else we do in this class is going to be right here. First thing I want you to do is go to Tools, and all the way down at the bottom is Global Options. It'll bring up something like this. Okay. I want this to be set to never. Save workspace to .rdata? No. Never. Thank you. Okay. And I want this to be unchecked. Do not restore .rdata into workspace at startup. Okay, we good there? Next thing you can do
Do you want
is,
us to mimic the other checks that you have on there?
if you want, but they're not as important. Those are the two that must be this way. You can change the appearance if you like. I prefer like the dark background. It's easier on my eyes. Pane layout, bunch of good stuff. Okay, but really those are the only two I want you messing with too much. Is by all means change your theme if you want something nicer to look at, and make sure that that is unchecked and this is set to never. And then you can scroll down and just hit OK. It'll say you need to restart. Yes, please. And in my case, it never actually restarts on its own. So I'm just going to open RStudio again. Oh, now it does. Okay, we all good?
Mine didn't restart.
Oh, perfect. All right, let's get to know our new frenemy, RStudio. Right here, we've got the console. You could also click on terminal, and that'll actually bring you to your the terminal you've been using, with where PWD works and CD and all that stuff. Mostly we want it to just display the console. This is where all the output of anything we ask about our data, it'll show up here. Okay. So I'm running R version 4.2.2. How about you guys? Same? Fine, because your Chromebook. Won't matter. As long as we're 4 and above, we're all happy. Okay. And then it just tells you some stuff. You can type demo for some demos. They're worthless. Don't worry about it. Okay. That's one pane here. Another little pane is our environment, history, connections. The only one we care about here for now, probably for all this class, is environment. That should be your default. This will show you all your variables and all your data and all your objects and everything like that. And then down here, this one actually is pretty handy. We've got files, all the plots that we're looking at, packages we have installed, help files for everything. This is the best of all time, is that you can be looking at a help file while typing. Wonderful. Viewer, okay. Well, now what I want you to do is go up to File, New Project. All right. Everything we do in here is going to be in a project. So exam 1 will be its own new project. But here you go, new project. it's going to give you some questions. Where do you think we want to put this project? Existing directory. And we're going to want to point it to data course last name. So existing directory. It's going to say, hey, what working directory do you want to use? All right, I'm browsing. For me, it's desktop, data course is on, and then I'm just going to hit open. All right, so, yep, that's right. And here we go, create project. Now, a couple things have changed. They're a bit subtle if you don't know to look for them. They're in the top right. That Git tab didn't used to be there. Now it's there. This is good. That means that R knows that you're inside of a Git repository. So it pays attention to that. It can help track your changes. And it actually gives us like add commit push with the mouse. It's way slower, but it'll work. And then secondly, up at the very top right, mine says data course is on. Yours should say, and it does. It's got your name there. You always want to see that. That means you're working in a project. Now, if you've got multiple projects from, you know, assignment 1 or I guess assignment 3 would be like the first time we do one. It'll give you a drop down so you can just go to the most recent projects you've been working on. That's all good and well. Okay. And another thing that changed is instead of showing us our packages, it should have probably defaulted to showing you files. If not, go ahead and click on files, and you should see all the stuff that's in this data course last name directory. And one of those things is this .rproj file. When you made a project, that's all you did, was you put that file there. RStudio knows to look for that file extension, and what it's going to do is basically say that anytime we're looking for any file, so a data set or a picture we created last week or whatever, that file path is going to start from here. All right, now it's time for our fourth and most important little window. I'm going to go File, New File, RScript. And I think it's Command or Control-Shift-N on pretty much everybody's computers is the shortcut for that. So a new RScript. Okay, so now we have 4 windows. This is where we type and compose and troubleshoot and figure stuff out. Here's where the output shows up. Here's where our plots will show up. And here's the stuff we create. All right, we ready to code? It was a long, horrible week last time. I know what it's like getting everything installed and learning about the terminal. All right. Well, first thing to teach you is that if you have a hashtag anywhere, I'm going to make this a bit bigger. That's called a comment line. And R is not going to read that as computer code. That's for you, the human. And so every day in class from now on, as we're doing stuff, this is probably where you want to be taking notes. So I could do Control-Shift-N, make myself a new one, and I've got both my little scripts in tabs up here. I'll save this one as class notes from whatever, January 17th. Okay. Now when I save this file with Control-S, it's going to say, where do you want to save it? My notes file. Where do I want to save my notes? I'm already in my data course, but I've got assignments, code examples, data, exercises. I love that idea. Let's keep things hygienic. So if we're going to have a bunch of notes scripts, let's keep them all in their own folders. So right here you can click, just, yeah, give me a new folder, sure. Notes. Yeah. And I'll save this as week 2. Sure. Well, hey, look. Lo and behold, now it's showing that I have some notes in there. So anytime I want to bring up notes and I'm in RStudio, there's my week2.r. It's just a text file, but it can be interpreted as R by RStudio. And there it is. All right, so I'm going to keep that open just so I can start typing some notes as we go. And one of those notes is hashtag means everything to the right on that line is for humans. Won't be read as R code. All right. Your first bit of R code, possibly ever. I'm going to start typing list.file, and you notice that as you start typing something, if it knows about that function, it'll bring it up for us, which is super handy, so we can like just scroll down, autocomplete. All right, so if I say list, it's like, do you want to list errors, list file, list. Which one of these do you want? Oh, I want to list some files. All right, and then up here it's telling me the things that this function wants. So we're about to call a function. When we were in the terminal, we said pwd, that was a function. It didn't take any arguments, but we just said, hey, print the working directory. What do you think this one does? Very good. And English isn't even your first language. You're amazing at coding already. This lists the files, but it wants some stuff. If I just run this, it's not going to give me maybe what I think. But let's try it. To run a line of code up here, I hit Control Enter. What happened?
It listed the files that you saved, of course.
It did. It listed the files where I am right now. And there they are. Where's my week2.r? It's in notes. What? I asked it for files, not directories. I don't even understand what's happening here.
So it's not going to dig into that.
It's not digging in. It's just saying what I see right here. This is basically like saying ls.
Yeah.
Just show me what you see right now. Okay? Well, if you'll know it's a function in R because it's parentheses. So it's some command, and then inside of parentheses, we can start changing things. Hit the tab key when your cursor's inside there. And it's going to bring up a list of all the things we can change about how this function operates. What is a path? Almost.
It's like all the folders are one folder.
The directory. So it says the default corresponds to the working directory, get WD. As a naturally curious person, I'm going to type that in and hit Control Enter. I'll do that right here. Get WD, parentheses, Control Enter. Ah, that's my path. What's yours? Maybe something similar? Windows people might have a bit different. No?
And mine has users for
Okay, it's got users, yeah. That's a path. The stuff we've been talking about this whole time, these are paths. They're directions from the very root of your computer to how to get to where you currently are. Just the series of folders we had to go into to get here. Okay, so if I just list.files, I hit my tab there again so I can see this. The default path corresponds to the working directory. So unless I tell it where to look, it's just going to look where I am. So let me try this. I'm going to hit enter on the path. Path equals, and then in quotes, notes. Without running it, what should I see?
So is it gonna know that you want to go all the way from home to notes, or is it going?
That's what, because we're working in our project.
Okay.
It will. For me, it just says week2.r, which is, of course, the only file present in the notes directory. All right, so we can tell it where to look. I don't have to keep it in here. I could say squiggle desktop. And look at that, when I hit tab, it just lets me kind of move through. Let's see. Get repositories, then files, case studies. Yeah, I'll look in there. There's the files, right? So if I say squiggle means home, your home, so where your desktop lives. So if I just hit tab inside of quotes, R is going to be perfectly happy to help me like sort through and say, where are you going? This way you don't have to try to spell stuff correctly. So when in doubt, use that tab completion. So I'm going to look, instead of in my notes, let's do one we've all definitely got, the data. Path equals data. How many files do you have?
I
Yes.
got 65.
That's fine. I've pushed some changes to the repository. You won't need those files. It's just dumb crap for stuff I was working on. If you got 60, you're fine. Everyone's got wingspan versus mass.csv, right? Should be the last file you see there. Well, that's what these numbers are meaning, is that this is the 65th file that we found. Here's the 69th file that I found. Well, inside of list.files, I go back inside the parentheses. I told it, hey, instead of just looking where I am, I want you to look in the data folder. That worked. But if I hit a comma, that means I can start giving this even more specific directions. What do I push to see the other stuff I can do? Tab. So we gave it our path. Let's try a pattern. What do you think this is all about? An optional regular expression. Only file names which match regular expression will be returned.
Like a control F type of thing?
Kind of like a control F.
If we put like a dots, something like .csv, and it only shows CSVs.
It's got to be in quotes. .csv. It's going to look for that pattern in the names of the files that it's listing and only return them if it sees it. And so now I've only got 33 of those. Remember, hit Control Enter on that line to run. And I'm hoping that all of them have .csv in the name, and it sure looks like they do. Perfect. I hit comma, meaning, hey, another argument. Well, here's the nice thing about R instead of like Python, is spaces don't matter. So I could hit a bunch of spaces here, go to a new line, and it's still going to say, hey, you know, what do you want? So I hit my tab here. Here's a one. Recursive. Should the listing recurse into subdirectories? Well, hang on a second. If I just say list files recursive equals true in all caps. Whoa. Instead of just my little 7 files in my home directory or my data course on, assignments and data and all that, if I say recursive true, it's going to go into the notes and find that. It's going to go into data and assignments and exercises. It recurses into all the doors it can open downstream. So this lets you just look everywhere downstream in every single subdirectory. And for me, I've got 1,248 files. I know that because it stopped giving me them at 1,000 and just said, hey, we omitted 248. That's a lot of stupid files. All right, so that's what recursive does. What do you think full names is going to do? And you know what? To make this readable, after every comma, I'm just going to hit enter. Just so each little argument is on a single line. So our path, we're going to look in the data for just CSV files, and full names equals true. Must be in all caps. What did that do? It gives you the path from where you started. Now, one thing I don't really like is that it's doubled up my little slashes here. That's because it's included in that top one. So I'm going to remove that. So if I just say, hey, path is data, not data slash. There, that's better. It doesn't make a difference in most cases, but this is much cleaner. Okay, full names equals true. I like it. Questions about what we've accomplished here? Yes?
I don't think I understand what true is.
That's a good question. True in all caps. Notice how it changed color? Like if I type true like that, it's just in my white text. In all caps, we're going to be seeing this a lot. Because, you know, computers work with ones and zeros. It's binary code. True and false is the language of computers. And so true and false are special. And so it just means that it's true. So in other words, I'm saying full names, yes please. That's kind of what that means. Do give me the full names. Well, that's a good spot for me to jump over to my notes and say true is a special term. False is special as well. Notice how I can type code and then just to the right of it give my little comment. I'm going to save that. What else in my notes? Tab helps autocomplete. Comma separates arguments to a function. Okay. All right, other questions? Yeah.
I know in one of my other classes we use like the quotation, not the single one.
Mm-hmm.
And we do 3 of those and we don't have to keep typing hashtag to make it going. Is there a way to do that?
Well, it's actually really nice. Anything you highlight, hit Control-Shift-C, done. And you can go back. So you can comment and uncomment anything you want just by highlighting. Did it work?
It made it like double comment.
Yeah, it's fine. It'll double comment if you already have a comment there. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to delete those for now. All right, so if I run that, there I have a list of the files in my data directory with their full path. So how to get to them. Yay. Why do we care about this?
So we don't have to be going back and forth like our desktop and what we're writing.
Mm-hmm. All those files are inside of this R project, the data course last name. They live inside the data subdirectory, and there they are. What good is a data file just sitting in a file unopened, though? We want to actually read these things into R. We want to analyze data. That means we have to take our data from a file, open it in R, and do our analyses and that kind of thing. Well, this is how we find them, right? Well, so let's say, man, I know there's a file, I think it's called Wingspan something. I want you to get me the path to that within R. Give me the full path to the Wingspan file. All right, I'm going to give you 60 seconds. Don't leave RStudio. You can do this. And time. Who's got it? All right, what is it?
Data/wingspan versus mass.csv.
Well, yeah, sure, but we already knew that. What did you type to get that?
Pattern equals wingspan.
Great. How did you know that it was in the data directory?
I guess.
You guessed, or you knew ahead of time. And that's fine. If you know ahead of time, by all means. But if somebody gives you a folder and says, there's a Wingspan something or other in here somewhere, can you open that in R and make me a beautiful plot? I will pay you $80,000 a year if you do this for me like once a day, which is the starting rate for our data analysts. you don't know that it's going to be in data. So what I would have done, list files. I'm not going to finish typing it because I don't trust myself. I'm going to say recursive equals true. I'm going to look everywhere in here. I'm going to say pattern equals wingspan. Wait, wingspan. Nope. They fail. How come?
It's case sensitive.
It's case sensitive. Okay, so wingspan. Failed again. Ignore case? Yes, please. True. Ah, okay.
So is that a sub argument in there, or is it just another?
Just another one.
Okay.
Well, so that's kind of nice. If you don't know how a file is spelled, ignore case equals true, and then
Can you ignore spaces too?
a bit more difficult. We'll get there, but yes.
Okay.
And then I'm going to say full names, yes please. All right, did both of you get both of these? Or all of you get these? All right, I think one of them is just mine.
Get that on the beginner one.
Yeah, because I made up this wingspan data, so I'm going to give it a versus. So wingspan VS. There it is. All right, but you shouldn't have had that problem. So we can manipulate this list.files in a lot of different ways to look for things that fit our specifications and say, give me that full file path. Okay, well, what good has that done us? How do we get that read into R?
Could we save that path and then?
How do we save it? Just highlight it? Could do.
You've got to name a variable. You can set the variable equal to.
I could highlight this, copy and paste it up there, but that is what like Neanderthals used to do. You know, they invented fire and then copy pasting. No, thank you. All right, so now that I know I've got my code showing me what I want to see, hey, yeah, that looks like the right path to this file. It's in quotes. Okay, so that code's working. That's the whole point of this, like, the script zone, is that we can just play around, get things to where we like them, and then we're going to save those results inside of R. And the way we do that is if I hit the Alt button, Option for Mac people, and then minus. It makes a little arrow pointing left for me. You're free to type that in every time if you want to. That's, you know, those are advanced caveman techniques right there. So Alt minus is the keyboard shortcut. That's the assignment operator in R. It assigns the output from the thing on the right to some name of a thing on the left. What do we want to call that thing? Path. Alt minus. And it can be on the next line. Sometimes I'll write it this way, but that's the same right there. Ooh. What happened? I ran the code, and it didn't give me my output here. Where'd it go?
Your environment. Right there.
So that top right, our environment, that's keeping track of all the stuff that we've assigned things to. Very handy. I'm going to make that a bit bigger. So we have a value called path. And what is the value of path? Usable.
Try it again. I don't even mind.
So you need this. So on line
It
24,
shouldn't be printing.
right before list.
Why is it printing?
Yeah, you want to say path, and then the assigner, and then your
Go
code.
up to the very top and look this. I want to see what this is.
That.
What is it doing?
That should
I
do
don't
it.
know.
Unexpected
Benefits.
symbols. Oh, you forgot commas after those two. Yeah.
Because you're not telling it to output because you're putting the path. Try putting path.
That's not a comma. There you go. Perfect. Okay.
But
Now try hitting Control Enter. It worked. Excellent.
Why is it not coming up in color?
yeah, or is it just
I read it both
printing it
ways.
for no reason?
Okay. Alt minus path is list files.
Just printing it.
Oh, that's because down here you're just rerunning this the whole time. If you can avoid it, never click down there. So now it will. The hell?
Maybe highlight the whole thing.
Oh, let's get rid of this. There.
Maybe
So now every time we write
it
path,
shouldn't matter that those were up there.
it shows
Both of them.
because
Yes. And it looks like you've actually got that generated file. So
So weird.
I have this problem too.
I guess I thought you were still in that same line.
Expand versus. Yeah. Now you just got.
Because usually you write whatever you want here. It's gonna know that you own it.
So I can always go back and edit it.
There's probably some
So-
difficulties.
Wingspan, you get two. You got the generate wingspan. So
Iris issues. Sign
you
does the same thing.
have with files, wingspan,
Like, I guess one of the
lowercase.
advantages.
Some reason you
I
get
don't
the
think the equal sign works. If you have another line, you can check.
Okay. Unexpected symbol.
That's fine.
There you go. That's the answer. So now it's working. You also have two, so let's get the underscore versus working. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right.
You found one.
You got the two on, so you got the generate down as well. So just like on mine, do the underscore VS, your wingspan pattern. Just so that
And then, so normally that command would pull out this, but
now rerun.
instead of showing us that, it just saved it into this thing called path. It's like it took everything that would have outputted and put it.
Okay. All right. It's gonna take you about 3 hours of
Now,
outside work.
if you
to
then
get done.
write
Cool
path,
with that.
Of this?
Yeah, because you missed last class. Are you
Oh,
done with
no.
assignment one?
No.
Yeah, 3 hours of work, or you'll be so far behind next class period that you'll die. Okay. You've got
thing they
two.
call path, which should pull out.
One of them is generate wingspan velocity data, so you need to be more specific with your pattern.
Oh, I just.
Do the underscore VS.
So if you don't want to look in your environment, you want to know what something
You
is,
good?
you probably just type it in.
All right. So we've done it. We've saved the directions to our file. And we saved it under an object or a variable named path in all lowercase. So when I type path and hit Control Enter, it should spit out the value of path for me. Excellent. Okay. Sending things to this console output is fine if we want to look at stuff, but looking at stuff kind of defeats the purpose of all the coding. Once we get it the way we want to save that value so we can reuse it later. That's what that assignment arrow is all about. Now, some of you had this. Now, when I hit path, it gives me two things. Because two files in my repository matched this pattern. So in order to only get it to do this one, I had to be a bit more specific. In this file, nowhere does it say underscore VS. So I'll hit Control Z to undo my changes there. All right. and rerun this whole bit. Great. There's my path. Alrighty. All we've done so far is saved the file location of some data set we want to look at. R still has no idea what's in that file, nor do any of you, except that maybe it has to do with wingspan and mass. Okay, so there you have it. You've learned so far one R function, list files. That one's not too hard to remember. How do I list file? Oh yeah, okay. Well, what type of file is this? What's a CSV file? Comma separated values. All right. If I go into data, I should see wingspan versus mass in there. Yep, there it is. I can open that with Excel. Okay. So you've seen this kind of data before. It's a spreadsheet. It's just separated by commas. Okay. So if I actually look at that, so if I say open with other application, Notepad, there's what the file actually looks like. This is really good. It's machine readable. It takes up low storage space. An Excel spreadsheet would be about 100 times as large on your disk for the same information. So very often we'll have just comma separated values. It's probably going to be your most common type of data that we work with in this class. But really it's just a spreadsheet. So it's a CSV, it's a comma separated value. So what do you think the function would be called for reading a CSV file into R? Yeah?
Read.csv.
Wow. Read dot, oh, and it comes up, there it is. Okay, so we told R where to look, or we have it saved. Read.csv wants a few things. First off, it wants the path to your file. Hey, give me directions to the file you want me to open. Is there a header? So is the first row the column names? By default, it's true. What's the separator? A comma. Comma separated. Okay. What character do you want for quote? Well, I would like a quote mark for that, please. What's the decimal indicator? A dot, please. If you go to Europe, that's going to be a comma. So we can tweak this to be where the data's from. Okay, so let's just try it with the defaults. How do I get it to read that file? Path. Because when I highlight, so I can just highlight actually part of any command. Anything I highlight and hit Control Enter, it'll just run that. When I look at path, that's what it is. And so I'm going to feed that in to my read.csv. And it did it. There's my data. What's the problem?
It's not saved.
I didn't save it as anything, did I? I just barfed it up onto my console here. Notice that R still doesn't even know anything about this data. It opened that file line by line, read it in, parsed it into different columns based on the comma, and then puked it up onto my screen, and then forgot about it. It has no idea that it even did this. So how do I save it?
Sign off. Give it a name and an assignment.
What name do you want to call this?
Wingspan.
Great. Wingspan, Alt minus. Now Control Enter. Oh, this is so exciting. Has everyone seen the old Bill Murray movie, Ghostbusters? No?
Original one?
The original.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I feel like I'm sitting next to somebody who hasn't seen it yet, and I'm just like, I'm so excited for you that you get to see this movie because it is amazing. That's what I'm feeling right now. Because we've just taken the first step of, we found a file, we read it into R. Now the world is our oyster. We can do anything with this because R now knows about this data set. In other words, instead of puking it up and forgetting, we said, hey, I want you to memorize this whole data set, and it did. It memorized it, and it saved it under something called Wingspan. And notice that it's different. Down here we have values. Okay, this is data. It knows that that's data. I'm going to click on that little blue and white button. And it kind of expands it for me so I can look inside here. Huh. It's got X, observation, wingspan, mass, and velocity. Those are our column names. So if I want to know about them, I can do that just to get a quick look. Or I can click on the word wingspan, and it's going to bring it up in a tab for me. So I can actually kind of inspect this. Yes, Lauren?
I accidentally typed wingspan wrong, so I thought I could just go back and edit the word, but now I have two saved things, so how do I deal with that?
If you want to get rid of them, go up to this little broom. That clears out everything. I'm going to do it. Yes. My environment's empty. Oh, no. All right, time for your next keyword shortcut. Put your cursor down below to after you've corrected everything and hit Control Option B or Control Alt B for Windows people.
B as in boy?
B as in boy. In this case, it's B as in before. It runs everything in your script before your cursor in order. And so if we've got our code working the way we like it, and we screw it up, crap, I want it back the way it was. Delete everything, put your cursor where you want it, Control Alt B. All right, so now wingspan's there, my path is back. Control Alt B runs everything before your cursor. All right. So I click on wingspan, the word over here in my environment, and it's brought it up for me. So I can scroll around in here. Cool. Well, what do I do with this?
Submit it
No.
again. You can't do that?
You can submit it to Canvas if you want, but what's the point?
But can I, like, for real, can I submit an assignment using R?
No. InStructure does not currently have an API that allows code to access it because apparently, and probably for good reason, there's sensitive student data. And so allowing remote access through a password can get kind of dangerous. You can do a lot of other stuff with R. You can submit new genomes to GenBank through R. You can publish your own website through R, but you can't submit to Canvas. Sorry. Okay. Well, what kind of data do we have?
We got three quantitative variables.
3 quantitative variables, 1 categorical variable, and basically 2 columns that don't mean anything. That's just like 1 through however many, it's the row number. Most of the time when people give you a data set to analyze, about 75% of it is garbage. That's a total waste of space. We've got 2 columns that are just worthless here, that's fine. Good. So let's say you're a scientist and you're studying swallows, the bird. What kind of question are you asking with this? I mean, you spent a lot of effort to collect this data, and you carefully entered it into Excel. You saved it as a CSV. You don't know what to do now, so you give it to your colleague who understands data analysis, and you say, hey, here's my data. I'd like you to, what? Plots, statistical tests. What I mean, but that's pretty general. Like specifically, what?
You want to know the difference between the African and the...
Okay, so African and European swallows, do they have different velocities? That's a question we could ask. Is mass correlated with velocity? What about wingspan? I mean, you're doing science right now. You're asking questions, formulate your hypothesis, hopefully before you collected data, but as a data analyst, that will never be the case. People come to you with a question that they don't have the right data for, but still, they're going to say, I want to know about like how the tail fin colors are influenced by wingspan. Where's the tail fin color column, dude? Oh, well, it didn't, that's like in a notebook. We'll put it in this file, and don't talk to me until you have, all right? Right now, we can look at correlations between those four variables. Well, if I type in wingspan, hit Control Enter, it'll barf it all up. Luckily, it still memorized all 1,000 rows of this thing. And if I just want to get access to one of those columns, wingspan $, and look, it gives you a drop-down menu. Here is your clue. If you click on this, it's like $X, $wingspan, $observation. So wingspan $, what do those refer to?
Those are the column.
The column names. All right, so I want you to look at just the mass of every swallow in this data set. That'd be wingspan $ mass. There it is. Neat. Kind of boring, but okay. Wingspan, $ velocity. What's this going to do? That little shortcut is just saying inside of the wingspan data frame, that's what we're dealing with, just give me that mass column, okay? Save that, just those numbers as M. And do the same with velocity and save those as V. And look at that, they popped up over here. I've now got M and V. Okay, well, I'm going to do another one, S. Wingspan, $ variety. S for species, I guess. Everyone following so far? They're showing up here in my values. There's M. How many of them do we have? 1 through 1,000. Observations. It should be the same for all of these, 1 through 1,000, 1 through 1,000. What's NUM mean? It's a numeric type of data. Yeah, that holds up. Okay. character. These are things in quotes. That's really all that's meant by character in R.
It's like a string.
That's a string. So it's a character string. It's stuffed in quotes. Well, that's right, African and European. That's all that's in there. And there's another numeric. Okay. When I looked over here at my little data frame, it's got those as well. Numeric, numeric, variety is character. Okay. This wingspan is a data frame. You need to know that term, we're going to be using it a lot. It's two-dimensional data. It's got rows and columns. As opposed to a vector. What's a vector? An arrow.
It's just a list. A number.
One-dimensional. Let's not use the term list
Yeah.
for good reasons we'll learn about later. A list is different in R. It's one-dimensional. You can think of it like a list. It's just a bunch of numbers in order. I'll say kind of like a list. All right. What's the maximum mass of any swallow in this data set? You don't know off the top of your head? Neither do I. In fact, I don't know anything about any new data set, and so that's why we have all kinds of questions like max M. That's the maximum mass, 108.5158. How could I find the minimum? Min of M. I wonder, how would I find the mean? Any guesses? Mean. Neat. What else do you want to do? Maybe I could just get a nice statistical point summary of the whole thing with summary M. Oh, sure enough. Minimum, first quartile, median, mean, third quartile, and max. Okay, that's nice. Anything else? How about the cumulative sum? So each new row added to all the previous rows. Oh, sure enough. Neat. Now I'm going to get crazy. And I'm going to stick a function inside of a function. I'm going to say plot, and then inside of the function plot, I'm going to say cum sum M. Figure margins too large. Stop that. Fine, I'll make this bigger. A big line. I can zoom in on this plot. It should not shock any of you that a cumulative sum keeps going up with all positive data, okay? This is good, sane, healthy thing to see. All right, what if I just plot M? Well, that's all over the place. How come there's no pattern? These are, I mean, what order are they in? It's just, here I found a swallow, I measured its mass, right? I didn't sort them first. Okay, so some are small, some are large, most of them are in the middle. All right, well, your list of R functions has grown a lot since list.files. We've got a bunch of stuff on here. You'll be using these, but hopefully they're not too hard to remember. If I say, what's the mean? It's not rocket science yet, okay? What other stuff would you like to do with this data set? Yeah. Can we sort it? How can we do that? Hmm? Woo! All right. It's giving you that nice, beautiful curve because that was the distribution I used to randomly fake these data. So now you've caught me. All right, how about a plot with a real x and y axis? Like, I don't know, wingspan versus mass. Plot. Notice that it says the first argument to this function is going to be your x-axis, the second will be y. So I'll feed it my wingspan and then my mass, and it says, oh, object W not found. Here you go. This is going to be the third most common error you get. Object something not found. I don't have something called W in my environment. Well, wingspan, dollar wingspan, that should work. No need to save it to a new variable first. I can just pull it straight out of that data frame if I want. And I could say here, wingspan, dollar mass. That's my x and my y. If I'm being a good boy, I'm actually going to give these arguments names, and I'm going to say x equals wingspan versus mass, or wingspan, y equals wingspan, mass. Kind of like we did up here, where we said recursive equals true, pattern equals. Every argument in R has a name. Try to use it when you can. Okay. What's happening? I haven't resorted anything. I'm just pulling these variables on the fly straight out of my data frame. Saying x, for the x-axis values, look inside the wingspan, find the column, name the wingspan. Whatever you see there, stick it on the x. Same for y, but this time the column named x. And there's my little plot. All right. Stats major guy. Chase, right? Or
Mason.
Mason. Sorry. Is there probably a correlation here or no? What do you guess?
I'm guessing there is a positive correlation.
I would also guess there's a positive correlation. When I faked the data, I made sure there was one. Okay. So when you see a plot like this, you would think, there's a positive correlation. Great. As wingspan goes up, birds get heavier. Well, guess what? Every scientific question boils down to something about that simple. Once you get the data into the format that you need it in. Great. Okay. what is the correlation? Like the numeric value?
But there's a command for it.
I bet there is. Maybe it's like core. Or maybe there's 500 different ways of doing that, but I'm going to use the most basic core. And I give it an X and a Y. Wingspan. Or you know what? Never type when you can copy paste. Neat. 0.946071. That is a strong positive correlation. I'm happy. How are we feeling? Okay. We will be covering all this type of stuff again. The point of today was to get a feel for how RStudio works. We can mess around up here all we want. You know, accidentally leave out commas. Happen all the time. We get our error messages down here or our output. When we've got something we know we want to reuse, we save it. We can see our plots over here. We can inspect our objects in our environment. If I scroll this down a little bit. Whoops, like that. Okay, we feeling all right about RStudio? We're happy? How much time do we have?
-2 minutes.
All right, go away.
So these values that we saved is just on here, right? So if we create a new file and type in, that's
Oh.
not gonna happen anymore?
Right. This, when you shut down RStudio or you clear your environment, you walk away, all these disappear, but we can get them back again with Control-Alt-B. As long as you save this. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to stick it in notes. I'm going to call it week 2 code, because this is where I actually typed my code. Done. So anytime I want to see this plot again, I just open this week 2 code file and rerun everything.
So, when are your office hours?
Mondays and Wednesdays.
Okay.
I'm sitting in this chair all day on Tuesday, Thursday.
Okay.
So Monday, Wednesday work.
I just can't get the my token to work for the.
Okay. Come in tomorrow. I'm in my office like most of the day.
Okay.
Yeah. Shoot me a Teams message first to make sure.
Dr. Lam, 2 things.
Okay.
So I copied
Sounds
like
good.
your whole thing on your thing on mine,
Great.
and you had a README.
Uh-huh.
So all the changes I made was to your README.
That's fine.
So do I need to have a README, and if so, how do I put them?
Not that important.
Okay.
You can just open that up in a text editor, delete all the stuff you don't want, and put your own.
Okay.
Add commit push, it'll work. You've got 13 commits already, so you're good to go.
Okay. And the other thing was when I have to do this
Probably don't have to commit it.
all over, so it
Every
doesn't
time.
save. Yeah. So
Have you got a minute?
yeah.
Okay.
You can take this chair.
Okay.
Like, you just have to do the ones you want to do. But you could totally commit the notes you just did. Although they would be.
I'm going to say history,
If you ever
and I'm
want.
going to search for -RC. Okay. Copy. Can you copy that whole line there and then paste it in and don't hit enter?
So this.
Just
this
that.
is-
Yeah. I figured out how to use it. Okay. Okay, and then how do I do it?
So you kind of put pressure and put them.
Do that other one, get password as well. saying your interactive shell is now Z shell instead of bash. That's okay. It's just a Mac thing. They always want to be different, but it works the same. The problem is that the Z shell doesn't have a file called .bashrc that it reads. It's called .zshrc. Okay, so your aliases are gone, but if I say echo get password, it knows it now. So you're good to go.
So I should be able to close this, open it again, and not have to do any of that again, right?
Yes. Let's try.
Come on, space.
Yep. Done.
Okay.
So now everything should work.
So, let me try to do it.
Yeah.
So you were here and you hit echo.
Mm-hmm. C-H-O. E-C-H-O.
Oh.
And then dollar sign. And then capital get. And then hit tab. And it's like, hey, get what? Capital P will give you. So hit tab again. Password. Now hit enter. There's your get password.
Okay.
So now when you do your add commit push, it'll work.
Okay. How did you change that to say bash instead of all that? Or that doesn't?
Don't worry about it.
Okay. So now I should be able to do everything again, like the push, the
Yeah.
add. Thanks.
Yes.
So if you have a second,
Mhm.
so here's the error I get when I try to push. It doesn't like my application.
Okay. So let's see. Echo. There's your password. There's your username. Nope. You've saved your username as your username.
Oh, I wonder if I did that accidentally.
Yeah.
So how do I change that?
So I'm gonna home.bashrc. There it is. Get username. What is your get username?
Barnes. B-A-R-N-E-S.
Capitals.
No capitals. M-E-S, yep.
Okay. Get rid of these because they're just clutter. Control O saves it. Okay. There's your username.
Okay.
There's your password.
Okay.
Great. Alright, so you don't have a credential helper set up. So I think you might have missed just like part of the assignment one.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It was a small looking link. To get these automatically entered when you use Git command.
Okay.
Did you go to this?
I don't know that I did.
don't think you did. Alright. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to stick it in a new file called credentialhelper.sh. So I'm going to say nano credential and shift insert.
It doesn't really seem to work.
Okay, right click, paste. Great. Saving that. Exit. Alright, then I'm gonna point Git to that file forever. Hey, path to will actually be your home. And that's it. Wait. Oh, right. I had an extra G. Git config credential helper. Okay. So now here's data course. So I'm gonna make another change. Save the file. Git status. It's been modified. Git add. Readme. Git commit with my message. Something. Git.
So message is just the caption on the change itself.
Yeah. It's a message. Git push.
Yeah, that's nice. Well, yeah.
Here's where yeah. You shouldn't have to do this very often. Sign in with the two-factor authentication.
Yeah.
Yeah, they interview people.
It noticed that you're already
Yeah, they
logged
have
into Git.
someone from the
So
school interview another
it's working.
professor. And they
Cool. Thank
you
you
won't
so
have to
much.
enter your password ever again.
Thank you.
Do you still need office hours now, or
No,
you
I
set?
think that.
All right.
that works.
What time are you for your office hours tomorrow?
It's a good question. We've got interviews all day, so noon
I think it'd be the interview part.
or 10.
10. Alright. Is it okay if I come at 10?
Yeah. Now, come in having already spent several
Yeah,
hours.
So,
Because I don't have time to like walk you
Yeah,
through. Yeah.
so I have to get the two-factor. I got that just barely.
Okay.
The thing I was confused about is how to get the assignments copied to the.
Click and drag them. And I'm still recording. Hang on.
Also, is the recording of
reason.
audio or is it just the